Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with a special Thursday edition of Movie Monday. I just got home from seeing Justice League, so we're going to talk a little bit about that movie. I'm going to try and keep this spoiler-free, and then maybe I'll do what I did with Thor, and maybe a spoiler-filled version on Monday's episode. We'll see. I don't know if I'll come back to this, or I might just leave it here with the spoiler-free impressions. But overall, I will say I thought there were issues, but I left the theater satisfied. That's kind of the best way I think I can really walk away from Justice League. I think there's a lot of kind of disjointedness at the beginning of the movie. Kind of the first third to the first half of the movie is bouncing around from location to location to location to location to location, because you're having to introduce so many characters that we've only really seen through like a little cameo in Batman v Superman. So you have to jump from Themyscira to Atlantis to Gotham to Metropolis and to Central City and stuff. So it just like you don't actually get to start really living with these characters for a little while, because it's doing so much putting the chess pieces in place for the first chunk of the movie. And so it is all kind of the pawns moving around in the chessboard, which, if you play chess, isn't the most entertaining component of that game. That said, I do think that all the actors kind of bring their A game. I think you have some great performances from Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot, and Jason Momoa even, kind of coming in. In particular, Batman and Wonder Woman, one of their big conflicts in this film is they know they're trying to bring this team together. They know there's this imminent threat in Steppenwolf, but none of them feel that they are a worthy leader of this team. They feel that kind of belongs, that should have been Clark or Superman. And so you've got Batman kind of feeling remorse for not, for like he feels like he caused Superman's death, and then Wonder Woman, as we saw in her own film, we've kind of seen that she kind of closed herself off for a long, long time. She's really still just coming back to this and hasn't really wanted to take up the mantle of a leader. And so their journey throughout this film is very much kind of getting to that point, getting to a point where they can lead if that's what is asked of them. Meanwhile, you have Ezra Miller and Ray Fisher as the Flash and Cyborg, respectively, and they are both kind of the young guns, the new kind of they're new to this life, effectively. Both of them, they even kind of describe themselves at one point as the accidents. You have Barry Allen being struck by lightning, and Cyborg being kind of turned into the half-man, half-machine thing that we saw in Batman v Superman. And so both of them are trying to really wrestle with what it means to be a hero, and really learning the extent of their powers. Ezra Miller has a lot of fun in the role. He certainly has kind of the most humor infused, I think, in probably that we've seen anywhere in the DC movies. Outside of maybe some of the stuff in Suicide Squad, but I think the humor lands here much better and is much more intentional here. But everybody kind of there's definitely moments where it feels like you can kind of see that little Joss Whedon kind of wit in these characters being brought out that, it could have been Zack Snyder as well, and that is kind of a weird little thing with this film. You have Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon kind of you can feel both their fingerprints in there, but it does feel like a uniform movie. When Joss Whedon came in, it does feel like he kind of invoked what Snyder has been building upon, for better and worse. The movie still has a lot of dark colors and broodiness and just dour feeling, but they are definitely trying to course correct here, and definitely are trying to build up hope. And that's what everybody on the team is really about, kind of bringing hope back into the world that Superman has left behind. So it's not necessarily what we actually had in terms of Superman in the past, and Superman really being a beacon of hope, as he's kind of identified here, and that's something they've kind of said in the trailers. That's not the Superman we've really had in the movies up to date, but that's the Superman they're telling us they've had, and it's the one they seem to be building towards moving forward. Elsewhere in the film, you do have a lot of larger name actors in like smaller minor roles that seem to be setting up more for like future building out of this universe. You know, you have characters kind of in the Aquaman universe that we see a little bit. You have a little bit more that we see in the Wonder Woman universe. You have, of course, you have J.K. Simmons in there as Commissioner Gordon here. So we're going to get to see a little bit more of the Batman world and mythos. And so I think they're definitely kind of planting seeds for the future movies, even as they've talked outwardly that they might be going away from the unified movie structure. I think we will still see kind of elements of this movie kind of sprinkled throughout some of the other things they've got in the works. Graphically, just like kind of tonally and structurally, as I mentioned earlier, I think there is some disjointed issues within the graphics. There are certain moments that look beautiful and gorgeous, and then there are others that look so abundantly green screened that it just takes you out of the moment. And so it is like there isn't a uniformity in the polish that the film has. And I think one of ultimately the weakest elements I think we have is the character of Steppenwolf, the big bad in this film, is entirely CGI, and it doesn't look great, especially compared to the rest of the Justice League. When you see kind of all of them fighting together in the sequences that they're kind of there together, obviously you have the human characters being digitally enhanced in CGI and stuff, but the fact that Steppenwolf is entirely CG in those moments does make him feel out of place, as opposed to if he'd been in some kind of prosthetics or makeup or something like that and actually on set, so to speak. I'm sure he was there with balls on his face or whatever and kind of there as a placeholder, but it just doesn't feel right. He feels out of place in the movie visually, as well as kind of his role in bringing the team together. He kind of suffers from what we see in Marvel all the time, of he's just kind of a nothing villain who's there bent on world domination. We don't get to learn anything about him because so much of the movie is focused on bringing the team together to defeat him. But without getting into spoilers, the film does end in a very uplifting place. I kind of walked away from the movie thinking to myself, well, I didn't have a smile on my face the entire time, but there were moments, and I left with a smile on my face, which is probably more than I really expected coming into this. I have a history of not liking the movies all that much. I didn't hate Man of Steel, but then I hated the direction that it went in with Batman v Superman. Suicide Squad was just laughably bad in my eyes. Wonder Woman did a good job and tried to write the course, and they did a wonderful job with that. And so this is much more Wonder Woman than Batman v Superman, but it's not. I think Wonder Woman still stands out as the stronger showing because of its focus on its one character, as opposed to introducing brand new characters and bringing them all together for this one film. But now that they are together, I do walk away excited to see where they go next. So that's the best thing I could have hoped for, I think, out of this Justice League movie. So yeah, those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Justice League. Let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.